country and beyond. It is my honor to open today's special webinar titled Turning Tides Navigating Upcoming Tourism Trends. A timely and important conversation as our industry once again stands at the edge of change. As a community deeply connected by purpose and passion, we find ourselves navigating yet another period of uncertainty. The current Indo-Pak conflict has understandably triggered concerns across the tourism sector, impacting sentiment, movement, and planning. Yet, if history is any guide, we know that this industry, our industry, is not just about places, but about people, about perseverance, and about the power to adapt, evolve, and emerge stronger. Today's session is not just a panel, it's a call to realign, rethink, and renew our collective spirit. We are here not only to assess the impact of recent events, but to look forward with clarity and conviction. It is in times like these that conversation becomes our most powerful tool and collaboration our most valuable strategy. This session is designed with that objective in mind to generate insight, encourage collaboration, and align industry thinking around upcoming trends and strategic direction. We are truly privileged to have with us today three exceptional leaders whose vision and experience continue to shape the future of Indian tourism. Mr. Ajeet Bajaj, President of the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, is a pioneer in adventure travel and an unwavering voice for sustainable and responsible tourism. Mr. Ajay Prakash, President of the Travel Agents Federation of India, a stalwart representing the travel trade with immense insight into global travel dynamics. Mr. Dhruv Shringi, co-founder and CEO of Yatra Online, a digital travel innovator whose understanding of consumer behavior and technology trends is redefining how India travels. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to join us today. Your presence sends a powerful message of leadership, unity, and shared responsibility. To all our participants, tourism professionals, entrepreneurs, media representatives, thank you for investing your time with us today. Your presence reflects a shared commitment to driving the industry forward with agility and foresight. As we move from conflict to confidence, let's make the most of this hour together. Let's ask questions, let's share real insights, and walk away better prepared, not just to manage the present, but to build the future. With that, it is my distinct honor to invite a pioneering force in Indian and global adventure tourism to open today's conversation. Mr. Ajeet Bajaj, President of the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India and Vice Chairman of FAITH, is a name synonymous with exploration, excellence, and leadership. He is among the very few in the world to have completed the Explorers Grand Slam, having skied to both the North and South Poles and climbed the highest peaks in all 7 continents. In 2018, Ajit, alongside his daughter Dia, became the first parent-child team in the world to summit Mount Everest from the North Face in Tibet. A National Games kayaking medalist, international rafting champion, and founder of Snow Leopard Adventures, he has led over 50 expeditions for the Indian Armed Forces, including elite special forces. He has represented India at global forums for sustainable tourism, chaired national tourism policy initiatives, and has been recognized with numerous honors, including the Padma Shri in 2012 and Hall of Fame awards from both Indian Association of Tour Operators and ATOAI. It gives me great pleasure to now invite Mr. Ajeet Bajaj to the conversation. The floor is all yours, Ajeet.
Thank you so much, Ash. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to begin by showing you 2 videos from the world of adventure. Sonam, can you please play the videos? Thank you. first video is a storm.
There's an avalanche coming down the mountain. Glad we are nowhere close to it. This is big. Oh my God. Oops. I'm glad we are far away.
Thank you, Sonam.
That's a big one. Whoa.
Thank you so much, Sonam. So those first two videos from the world of adventure. The first one was a storm at 8,200 meters on the north face of Mount Everest in the so-called death zone. And the second, as you saw, was an avalanche near the base camp of Mount Denali in Alaska. Mount Denali, as you know, is one of the 7 summits, the highest mountain in North America. So, well, those videos from our world of adventure is really about expecting the unexpected. Our world has become a VUCA world, as we say. There's volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity. There's geopolitics, there's global warming, or, well, I like to call it global weirding at times. Whether it's pollution in the national capital region, COVID, war, I think every few months we have to face challenges. And it's either some crisis or the other. And the first people to be impacted by any of this are all of us, folks in the travel and tourism industry. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the presence of 2 dear friends, 2 rock stars. We have Mr. Ajay Prakash, President of the Travel Agents Federation of India, and Mr. Dhruv Shringi, CEO of Yatra Online. They are going to talk more about the business aspect of it and how, as operators, as tourism and travel operators, we can really ring fence our businesses, because this kind of chaos and ambiguity and volatility has become the norm in today's world. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the software aspect. I think the first thing we need to do as businesses is build a support system. I think this is critical, not just our family and friends, but also real buddies in the business. Other folks in the business of travel and tourism, people whom you can bank upon, whether it's for advice, sometimes even for a bit of cash or a shoulder to cry on. These have to be your buddies through thick and thin. I do feel that a lot of human battles are fought in the human mind, and we win or we lose depending on our mental makeup. So there is a French term, it's called sang-froid. Sang-froid means an ability to stay calm when all hell is breaking loose. And I think sang-froid has to become our middle name in the industry that we are in. We have to remain cool and calm and stay absolutely positive no matter what. And I think as people behind the business, it's very important that we ensure that as individuals, we keep ourselves absolutely fit. So continue to exercise even when there is a crisis situation on. Ensure you get adequate sleep. Avoid that alcohol. because that doesn't help, especially when things are stressful all around you. But I also think that as businesses, it's very, very critical for us to build reserves. We must, I feel today, have reserves for at least 9 months to 1 year, so that even if all hell breaks loose, we still sleep easy and we are not in dire straits. I think planning for crisis situations is absolutely imperative. I think we must all risk assess our businesses, look at all possible scenarios, look at all possible things that can potentially go wrong, and find a solution, and put it down on paper. I think, as they say in the Indian Army, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So I think the more we prepare when things are normal, the more we plan, the better it is. So when actually we are in these crisis situations, we are in a much better position to handle the chaos all around. Another important aspect I feel is having communication templates, and in times of crisis, we have to remember that that is really a true test. That is the time we have to be really good as far as our communication is concerned. And Atithi Deva Bhava, guest is God. We have to continue to show our guests what we are really about as a company. That truly defines us. Is not It's crisis situations that truly define us as leaders, as organizations, and not necessarily the times when everything around us is going really well. I think this is something that separates great leaders from the ordinary, their ability to shine in crisis situations. I'd like to finish by saying that, well, I showed you the very stressful situation of a storm where wind speeds picked up to 70 kilometers an hour, gusting to 70, 80 kilometers per hour. It became a life-threatening situation. I just want to, and temperatures dropped to minus 45 degrees Celsius, right? It was a battle for survival. But I just want to finish by saying that all of us must remember that all the preparation we do in life for those storms stands us in good stead. And remember, no storm lasts forever. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ajeet. Thank you so much for sharing how we must plan for a crisis situation. And I totally agree with you that, in the moment of crisis, we define ourselves. And also, today I learned this thing from you, from your statement, that we must build a support system in the business. We must have buddies in the business who we can rely on for everything. That's a very, very valuable suggestion that you have given to the house today. Thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to invite a distinguished leader in the Indian and global travel community, Mr. Ajay Prakash. With over 4 decades of experience in the travel and tourism sector, Mr. Prakash began his career with Air India in 1980 and has spent the last 35 years as a successful entrepreneur. He is the chief executive of Nomad Travels Mumbai. Currently, he serves as the president of the Travel Agents Federation of India, representing over 1,700 members nationwide. In addition, he plays a strategic role in industry policy and advocacy as a vice chairman of FATE and a member of the World Travel Agents Association Alliance. Mr. Prakash also leads globally as the president of the International Institute for Peace Through Tourism, an organization dedicated to promoting tourism as a vehicle for peace and positive change, working closely with the UNWTO and other international bodies. A graduate in history from St. Stephen's College and a postgraduate in English literature, Mr. Prakash combines thought leadership with advocacy and has been a frequent voice on both global platforms and national television on issues ranging from aviation to sustainable tourism. We are honored to have him with us today. Mr. Ajay Prakash, a very warm welcome. We look forward to your insights. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ajeet. And thanks to ATOAI and the whole team for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak to not only your members, but to the larger audience of travel professionals across the country. I must tell you that when I attended the ATOI convention in Tawang, I was very impressed by the way the ATOI members conducted themselves. And I said to Ajit, your members are a breed apart from other associations that I have encountered, including my own. The dedication and love that you bring to the business and to the business of getting people together is phenomenal. So once again, a huge shout out and a congratulations to all of you. Coming to the topic for the day, Ajit rightly said, no storm lasts forever. However, when it does hit you, you better be prepared. And we have in this industry, we faced storms aplenty. And that's not going to change. We are the most vulnerable segment, whether it is a man-made calamity or it is a natural disaster. Travel and tourism is the first segment to get severely affected. And Ajit, I don't know, we didn't exchange notes, but you said some of the things that I also believe very firmly are essential to survival in times of crisis. You said build a reserve fund. Absolutely. I mean, we need to be able to sustain, as a businessman, that, it'll not be all roses all the time. So you need to be prepared. And for this, I have to say this to my members and to members of the travel fraternity: charge professional fees. Very often I find that people are hesitant. Somebody asks you for an itinerary. You send them not one, you send them 3 itineraries. And at the end of the day, they go and book elsewhere. It's the same with air tickets. People come and say, oh, I want to do this, this, this. You've spent time and effort finding the best solutions for them. And then they decide, oh, but I'm getting it a few thousand rupees cheaper, either online or through somebody else. You have only those 8 or 10 working hours in the day. You've got to make them count. You cannot be spending time unproductively. So therefore, I reiterate, when people come to you asking for service, be prepared and make them also aware that your services are professional services. They come at a price. Don't be shy about this. Many members shy away from this. It's not the right thing to do. Your reference to a VUCA word, again, that was something I was going to refer to, Ajit. You did that before me. That's all right. We do know that this is the uncertainty, the volatility, the chaos, the ambiguity of our business. We've just seen the bottom drop out of a state that was doing so phenomenally well on tourism. I mean, life in Kashmir had changed radically over the last few years. People were making money, people were smiling, tourists were traveling there. You even had jams occasionally in Srinagar, all of which goes to show that tourism was alive and kicking. And overnight, it was gone. Now, this, while it is a economic business calamity, there's also the human tragedy that preceded this and that will continue to haunt this business. Now, nobody could have anticipated that this kind of a thing would happen. So, as an industry, Forget whether the operators and the colleagues in Kashmir had prepared a contingency plan or kept reserves. I mean, as an industry, as a nation, we have to get together and come and help out this state, which is truly paradise on earth. Uh, but nobody was prepared for this. Now, that's where resilience and planning for events like this, you cannot plan for such a horrific, barbaric calamity, but you can prepare for the times when business is disrupted, regardless of what the reasons are. That's one aspect when you have something absolutely tragic calamity like this. The other aspect of our business is things that have led, over tourism. I mean, there are demonstrations in Spain, in Italy, in a place like Amsterdam, where they're saying tourists stay away. Now, this is because none of us is actually thinking. What we're doing is we are following the trend. Everybody wants to go to Kazakhstan or everybody wants to go to Turkey. And then Turkey suddenly, a country with which you have done $10.4 billion of bilateral trade, becomes the enemy. Now, how do you prepare for these things? I mean, you cannot prepare for something like this that happens overnight. But as tourism professionals, we can definitely always be on the lookout of how to spread the benefits of tourism. I mean, our hill stations are a prime example. My friends in Nainital tell me, man, don't even think about coming here this summer. Because if you cannot show a hotel confirmation, you will be stopped way outside Nainital. Your car will be parked there, and then you have to make your own way in. Now, why is it that everybody wants to go to Nainital or Simla or Mussoorie? There are so many other places. It's our job as professionals to be able to offer these opportunities and to say, look, here is an alternative which is less crowded, which is more peaceful, which is probably less expensive as well, and will be more fulfilling. So that's another thing that we need to be looking at as travel professionals. How do you create new niches? How do you create new segments? How do you create new destinations and experiences? Sorry. Because today the trend is, instead of the time when, if you remember the Japanese tourists, all they would do was like, in 5 days, they'd cover like six places. And all they do was go click, 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 click. They weren't looking at what was happening. All they were doing was shooting pictures. They'd go back home and look at them. That has changed. The younger traveler is looking at what they would perhaps call slow travel, which is take time in the destination that you are, get to meet some of the local people, understand some of the local ethos, eat the local food, do all those things which become an experience and not a photograph. So these are again trends which we need to be working on and seeing how we can use them to A, make the experience better for the tourists, B, make it more profitable for us as a business, and C, and we'll come to that a little later when we talk about the sustainability aspect. See, today is the age of information. I mean, information is available freely, widely. Perhaps there's even information overload where people then do not know how to choose between options. That's again somewhere where you and I, as travel professionals, could come in. But it is important that we prepare ourselves, that we are aware of what's happening, whether it is in terms of local activities at a place, whether it is in terms of the geopolitical situation as it might be developing. You have to be one step ahead because the young generation is spending more than enough time on getting information, whether it is off the net or it is a peer-to-peer communication, which is really defining where people are going. Another short article I read the other day was about how influencers are actually making a difference to where people travel. People are not necessarily um, aware exactly of what they're going to do and see, but what they're doing is following the influencer and trying to get the same picture that the influencer did. Now, that's again, to my mind, that's a negative thing because people need to be able to wander off the beaten track, and that's the only time when the true value of tourism is can be absorbed by you. So what I wanted to talk about apart from this is that tourism is more than just a business. It's forget the fact that it is one of the largest industries in the world. Forget the fact that it accounts for perhaps one in every 10 persons employed. It has a much, much bigger role to play because this is the industry that is purely about people. We build nothing. We spread nothing except hopefully joy and smiles. So this industry is only about people. And we have to leverage that. When you talk about inbound tourism, it becomes a huge tool for you for soft cultural diplomacy. When people come and stay in a place and interact with people and go back happy, but that's the best sort of advertisement for you as a destination, for you as a people. Harsh, am I overrunning my time?
Please go ahead. I'll ring the bell. Don't worry.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. Um, so there is a role that tourism can play in, perhaps it's the wrong time to talk about this, but it is still a universal fact that tourism can be used as a tool for peace. See, governments have differences. People don't always have the same differences that governments have. And the people to people connect is a very, very vital part of what tourism does. So, if as professionals in the industry, we absorb within our own business practices the idea, if we own the idea that tourism can be a force for good and a tool for peace, then you and I have the opportunity to pass this on, this sensitization of being open to the new cultures, the diversity, the so called differences that you will encounter when you travel out of your own home, that all these actually are very, very minor when you compare them to what is common for all of us as, what human beings want. You all want like a good home, a good education for your children, good food to eat, clean air to breathe, a peaceful environment. All nationalities, all faiths, all of us want the same things. And if you can travel with an open mind and and a gentle heart, you will discover that the differences that seem to divide us pale into total insignificance before all the things that are common. And if we, as practitioners of tourism, can work on this and somehow pass this along to our travelers, to our clients, then I think we are fulfilling a bigger function than merely making money. Because tourism thrives only upon the diversity and the natural beauty of the planet, and it is finite. You cannot keep abusing the planet endlessly and hope that she will revive. We did see a prime example of that in the COVID, when suddenly people reported seeing dolphins in the bay at Mumbai. So nature can recover, but you have to give her a chance to do that, which means we have to actually practice that much touted, bandied word, which is called sustainability. You've got to actually look at how you're going to make a difference, not merely talk about it. So, I mean, to sum up, what I'd say is, as an as a business, we have a role to play bigger than business. We see the climate change, we see the warming, we see the geopolitics, and yet, as a resilient, Safro, no, I mean, as an industry, we are actually compelled to be Atmanirbhar. That's where we are. So we need to make sure that we are prepared for these crises when they come. And let's again, as friends, as colleagues, it is important that we talk to each other. Competition and cooperation can come together in a word called coopetition. That's the watchword. That's the way we all need to go. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk to everybody. And yeah, let's soldier on regardless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ajay. You were speaking from the heart with so much of passion. I really didn't want you to stop in between. Thank you so much for sharing, these thoughts with us. So many times we don't talk about things, but we all feel those things. Very early on, you mentioned, we should not be shy about charging the professional fees. I think we should, as an industry, come to some sort of consensus over there. Start doing it because, we all feel the pinch over there. And of course, your thoughts about sustainability and how we should plan and move forward together, be resilient. Thank you so much for all your insights. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, now we have amongst us another stalwart, and it's my pleasure to introduce another visionary leader, Mr. Dhruv Shringi. He's a co-founder and CEO of Yatra Online. Dhruv launched Yatra in 2006 with a three-member team at a time when online travel in India was just beginning to take shape. Under his leadership, Yatra has grown into one of the country's most trusted and scalable travel platforms, serving both individual consumers and businesses through innovative tech-driven solutions. He led Yatra to a milestone IPO on Nasdaq in 2016, making it only the second Indian e-commerce company to be listed on a global exchange of that stature. In addition to leading Yatra's business strategy, technology, and operations, Dhruv co-chairs FICCI's Tourism Committee, actively working with the government on tourism policy. He has also played a key role in shaping India's digital ecosystem through his previous position as Vice Chairman of the Internet and Mobile Association of India. A former Fortune India Top 40 Under 40 CEO, Dhruv brings sharp insight from both global and Indian markets with prior experience at eBookers, Motor Company, and Arthur Anderson. He is a chartered accountant and holds an MBA from INSEAD. We are delighted to welcome him to this important conversation on the future of Indian tourism. Mr. Dhruv Shringi, thank you for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Arshdeep, and thank you for that rather generous introduction. Uh, you know, 40 under 40 seems a long way back now, but that just goes to show that over the course of the last 20 years, I've had the good fortune of both witnessing the highs and maybe at times the lows of this industry. But through all of that, I've seen how resilient the industry has been, right? And how dynamic the sector can be. And I've been privileged to see this firsthand. Obviously, there've been two esteemed speakers before me, between Ajeet and Ajay. They've pretty much covered whatever I wanted to say. So I'm going to maybe pivot out here on the spot and try and share my own experience. Um, if I just look back at the last 20 odd years right now, I'll narrate a few instances which are etched in my memory. The first one was 2008. It was July of 2008. I was on a flight to Hong Kong to sign a term sheet to raise capital in our early days. And when I landed in Hong Kong, I came to know that Lehman had crashed. And that just brought the entire financial markets to a standstill. That turmoil resulted in us not being able to raise capital at that particular point of time and come back home empty-handed, just when we were actually on the verge of signing up that term sheet. Next came Kingfisher. This was late 2012. We were in the midst of an IPO in the US, and we had Kingfisher, which was unraveling at that point of time. Kingfisher back then was about 22% of the market share in India. It was about 25% of our revenues, and overnight, 25% of our revenues disappeared, which meant that we had to pull back from the IPO. And then, fast forward to 2020, and we have COVID. Our stock goes into a free fall. We go from $7, $8 a share to less than a few cents a share, lose 90% of our market cap in a span of a few. So all of this has shown me that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I think that's one of the key criterias which I feel of being a member of this industry is that you need to be internally tough and resilient. This industry is definitely not for the faint-hearted. Whether we like it or not, and I think Ajay put this appropriately, that we are one of the first industries to get impacted when anything negative happens. For sure, in India today, we are one of the industries that's benefiting from a positive effect as well, given the increase in disposable income in the younger population. But we are also the first one to get impacted if anything adverse were to happen. So you need to be very resilient in this industry to be able to withstand the challenges that this industry puts forth. But one of the things that keeps me going is that I always remind myself as to why did I join this particular industry? Most of us who are in this industry are here today because we are passionate about travel. We want to explore more destinations. We want to explore different cultures. We want to explore different cuisines. And that is what really drives us. It's our passion for travel, which is the bedrock for us being in this industry. And at difficult times, that is what I really have to remind myself that why is it that I'm doing this? This is more than a job, right? I think all of us, if we wanted, could have found other jobs as well. But this is beyond a job for most of us. This is a calling, right? And that's the calling that keeps getting you out of bed every morning, even when times are tough. We've recently been through a harrowing incident as a country. The repercussions of this will be felt for a long period of time in certain segments of our industry. The inbound tourism sector, for example, was already reeling under the pressure of COVID and long-haul travel being impacted in our more mature European markets. And events like this don't really make life any simpler for us. So I think as organizations, we also need to figure out which is our customer segment that's going to be most resilient. If I look back over the last 20 years, when we started off, there was a high degree of focus on international tourism, both inbound and outbound. That's the industry where people were making money. But over the course of the last 20 years, we found domestic tourism to be the most resilient sector of this ecosystem. If my memory serves me right, I think when we started that time in 2025, there were less than 25 odd million people who traveled domestically by air. This number last year was upwards of 160 million, right? So it grew almost 7x in a 20-year period. In absolute terms, we added close to about 140 million domestic trips in the 20-year period. The next 140 million trips will be added in less than 5 years. That is the kind of growth that we are seeing as a country right now when it comes to domestic travel. So I think that's one of the main pivots that we've had to look at over the course of the last decade or so, that start moving closer and closer to where the customer behavior is and make sure that you as a company are in line with where the consumer trends are moving. Because if you are not adaptive enough to change with the times, it's most likely that you will get left behind. And the frequency of change today is like the frequency that we've never witnessed before. I think Ajay again mentioned that today friends will tell you, that they've seen this price online. Can you come and match this price for me? And, we are not able to charge a fee or an appropriate fee for the time and effort that we are putting in, right? I'll give you an example of what I have seen as a trend over the course of the last 2 years. There used to be a time earlier where a friend would reach out to me and say, Dhruv, can you have someone in your holiday team plan an itinerary for me? Today, at least 2 or 3 times a month, I will find a situation where a friend will send me an itinerary from Chat GPT and say, this is what I want to do. Can you have someone cost it out for me? So the industry is evolving and changing quite rapidly, and it's very important for us to stay abreast of the changes. Some of these changes are seismic shifts. We as individuals will not be able to control or slow down these kinds of seismic shifts. So it's very important for us to be adaptive and be responsive to these changes and be willing to pivot our businesses to be able to, be where the customer is. More often than not, I find that the challenge is more internal as opposed to being external. We are prisoners to a certain extent of our own mindset. And I think that is what we have to really break through. There is a lot of value that we still add, but the way we add the value might change. The value might not be in booking a box standard ticket. The value might lie in adding more value added services that you can provide to the traveler that he or she might not otherwise have known about. That is, I think, the human knowledge that we will bring. We might know that individual better than what ChatGPT might know him or her. How do we refine what a standard model is being shared or a standard itinerary is being shared by one of these platforms is where our value will lie. They might come to you saying, ChatGPT is saying, and I've had this recent example, right? Saying, here are the 5 most popular hotels. And I've asked the question that, listen, hey, buddy, you guys are traveling with your parents. Your parents are vegetarian. Have you guys thought through that facet of it? And should I have someone in my team look at that aspect of it, right? Those are things where you will add value, which typically a platform might not be able to add, right? So we have to really start thinking as well in terms of where do we add value in the process. And if the customer sees that you're adding value, they'll be willing to pay for it. More often than not, the problem that happens is that we are doing a service that can easily be replicated. I speak about this a lot to our customer services team as well. The challenge for our customer services team will not be that 10-20% of their business will get automated or responses will get automated by the bots. The challenge is that 80-90% of the responses will get automated. So it's going to be a seismic shift. And in that kind of a situation, are you the company which is trying to aim for a 10%, or are you a one which is trying to aim for a 90% improvement? So unless you set the bar high enough, you're not going to be able to compete in what is going to be a difficult market. When I look at this from a Yatra point of view as well, I feel today our risk is not so much for the 2 or 3 other players which are out there. Our risk, given how technology is making a lot of this, uh, reducing a lot of the entry barriers, is from a bunch of guys in some, room who are trying to code their way and find a solution that is going to be really groundbreaking from a customer's point of view. And that is the risk that exists for all of us today, right? So how do you avoid this risk? One is be willing to disrupt, I feel, yourself rather than have someone else disrupt you. And I think that is a very important trait to have in an industry like ours, which is evolving very quickly. If you're stuck to a particular mindset, I think that will lead to huge challenges for you and your organization. I'm trying to find solutions which are disrupting us and saying, can we adopt them and disrupt ourselves rather than a third party coming and disrupting us? The second, which I feel, is that in this environment, it is very important to be frugal on the cost side of things. It's very easy to get carried away with the glitz and glamour that at times is associated with our industry. So how do you do this in a manner which is very cost effective? How do you keep your internal cost structure lean is going to again be very critical in the few years to come. And then it's about focus on the customer. If we are not customer focused, I think that will be the biggest reason for downfall of organizations. And for me personally, I find that to be the single biggest risk. I spend a lot of time reading customer complaint emails. I spend a lot of time looking at social media complaints that are coming in, because that to me is the greatest risk that an organization faces. And that is if you're not listening to the voice of the customer, right? So I think that's another thing which you need to be extremely focused on. And you have to embrace technology. You have to find a way of collaborating with technology solutions, both internally and externally, to make sure that you're delivering a great experience to the traveler. Because if you're not doing it, there is someone out there who is going to be doing that. Having said that, I don't want to suggest for a minute that it's all doom and gloom for the industry. I think if you just look at where we are today as an economy, we have around $21, $2,200 of per capita GDP. And for every 100 incremental dollars of per capita GDP that is being added at this point of time, 70 cents out of that are going towards travel and experiences of life, like dining out. So the industry and the market will grow exponentially over the course of the next few years. And if you look at this line, right, and if you were to plot this over a 10-year horizon, the line will seem sharply going up. No one will remember in those that there was a 1 month dip in May, or there was and if you were to expand this over a 20-year horizon or a 30-year horizon, even the 2-3 year blip of COVID will go away. So that's what you have to focus on, that as an industry, we are today in a sector which will be one of the greatest beneficiaries of income accretion that will happen in India. How we take advantage of that is where the secret sauce will lie. And that's where individuals and leaders like yourselves who are driving the organizations will be the ones who will be responsible for the future of your companies. And how agile we as individuals, we as leaders turn out to be able to capitalize on these opportunities. I think that will determine the success and failures of our organizations to a great extent. So the question is not around the opportunity. I think we have to take for granted that while today it seems that markets are tough, the long-term opportunity is phenomenal. It's up to us that how do we go about navigating some of these things, right? So just to quickly summarize on that, my mantra is have self-belief. I have the belief every morning that I get up, that I can walk through a wall if need be. Take care of your team, because they are the ones who are there with you through thick and thin. So if you take care of your core team, that is going to be a huge support for you. I heard this, once from, and it was a line attributed to Ratan Tata, that if you want to walk a short distance fast, you can go alone. But if you want to walk a long distance, you need to walk with a team. And that's where I think this is what it's going to be. It's going to be a long trek ahead for all of us. And you need a core team there to support you. And then, from a business point of view, make sure that you stay frugal, make sure you adopt technology and you innovate, and you have a relentless focus towards the customer. With that, let me end this and open it up to the floor and hand it back to Arshdeep for her remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dhruv. It's really a pleasure, having you over here and listening to your life story. And such good, things, the insight that you shared. It's really very valuable. And I have made a whole page of notes, which I'm taking back from here, from you, from Ajay. I mean, it's really been a good session. Sonam, can you please help us? I see there are some questions in the chat. If we can address those quickly, we have, maybe a time for a couple of questions.
So yes, ma'am, we have a question from Devika for the speakers. Should I just read it out? And I'm not sure, is Devika there on the line? Because I'm not sure whether it has been addressed to Ajit sir or Dhruv sir or Ajay.
You please read out the
Anyone
question.
can pick up. Sonam, don't worry. Just read out.
Sure, sure. So the question from Devika here is, what are the top 3 trends the travel industry must stay ahead of to remain competitive in a world increasingly influenced by AI and bots? So this is one of the questions from her.
I think, Dhruv, why don't you answer this?
Sure. So I think, from my perspective, and I touched upon the aspects of it. So if you think from a trend point of view, I'd look at this twofold. One is from a external point of view, and one is from an internal point of view. The internal point of view, which I feel from a travel company's perspective, is the amount of automation opportunities that bots offer you is quite phenomenal. If you don't take advantage of those, your competitors will have a cost structure which will be significantly leaner than yours. And in that kind of an environment, it'll make it very difficult for you to operate at scale. So think of bots more as an enabler for your internal business in terms of how can they help you automate your business processes, automate your responses to your customers, help you understand the kind of trends and demand patterns which are coming out from the customer queries that are coming into you. So use them as an enabler, right? I think that is first and foremost that I would look at. On the other side, I think, there is tremendous amount of inspiration also that they provide. So how do you leverage those and then mix that with the kind of personalized touch that you have of your traveler, right? The personalized understanding, the long history and data that you have of your travelers. How do you marry the two is a very, very important trend to have. I'll give you an example, right? And this is a very simple and basic one. So today, if a customer is coming to you, you know what or where that customer has stayed, what flights has that customer typically taken. And based on that, you could simply enter those queries or those data points into any of the AI engines, and they will give you similar properties, they will give you similar destinations, they will give you similar thematics. Use those, and your staff can use those to be able to respond much better to the needs of the customer. I think one of the challenges that customers typically face is that the customer themselves has to do a lot of the grunt work when it comes to trip planning. Because more often than not, for no fault of theirs, our staff is maybe not as exposed to travel as your customer. So how do you use these on the customer side as well to respond to your customers and be able to refine the kind of response and feedback that you're giving to your customers would be very, very important.
Thank you, sir. We have the second question for Ajit sir and Ajay sir. In an era where misinformation is rampant, especially in on-ground situations, how can industry professionals ensure credibility and accuracy in the information they rely on?
Ajay, why don't you take this? Yeah.
Okay, Ajit. So if it's adventure and if it's a question of getting into the mountains, well, I think no amount. I mean, Ajit has no competition there. So please rely on what a bot has given. I mean, I had an instance where somebody sent me an itinerary, which they got off the net, AI, Chat GPT, whatever, which got them from Varanasi to Ranthambore on the same day. And I said, wow, I mean, do tell me how you plan to do this. So yes, there is a whole lot of misinformation. And that is where we as professionals, I mean, I remember the time when I first became a travel agent, the information of what flights operated between any two places was esoteric information. We had something called an ABC, which told you, flights from Nagpur to Delhi, okay, who's operating? Today, that information is available to anybody. But the problem with that information is that it's not always accurate. I mean, I had an instance where the Competition Commission of India, in a case that we were fighting as an association, they relied upon Wikipedia to say something. And I said, good God, I mean, Wikipedia, again, is a public platform where everybody's, putting in whatever. So what I'm trying to say is information exists, but the right information, how to sift through it, as, Dhruv said, I mean, the passenger or traveler probably doesn't even know the right questions to ask of that AI platform. That's where you and I come in as professionals. Leverage what you know through experience and then use your own brain to sift through what comes out of, I mean, not everything that you see on the net is as it really is. So use your head, refine it, and then it's a great tool. It is a phenomenal tool. And itinerary that would have taken me half a day, but I can get the basics in like a few minutes. Then it's up to me what I do with it. And that's what you've got to keep doing. Uh, it also has its negative side. I mean, it's got the deep fakes where anybody could be maligned for anything. But it is a fantastic tool. And as professionals, you've got, as Dhruv said, to leverage it because otherwise you're just spending time being unproductive. So that's what I'd say. Back to you, Vash.
Thanks, Ajay. I think the next two questions are for Dhruv.
Yes.
Dhruv, the next question is any message for travel startups?
Yeah, I think, if you're a travel startup or wanting to start up in the travel industry, I don't think there is a better time than now, right? At times, I do feel maybe, we guys were 15, 20 years too early. Deep at Make My Trip and I joke about that a lot, that, we grayed our hair unnecessarily, and now was really the perfect time to do this. And the reason I say this is twofold. One, obviously, from an income level point of view, India has evolved tremendously. The kind of purchasing power that India has today is quite phenomenal. I mean, there are over 50 million households in India who have an income level of over $100,000, right? That is the entire GDP of the UK in a small subset of India, right? So I think one is that aspect. The other aspect, which is much more nascent, which is in the last 2 years, is that the advent of some of these new technology solutions which have come out have really leveled the playing field from a new competitor's perspective. Earlier, technology was a real barrier to entry. Today, as a travel technology startup, there are so many simple AI solutions which are available that you could, subscribe to for as low as like, two, $300 a month. That can help you generate a website, that can help you generate an app, right? That can help you integrate onto APIs. All of that today exists, right? Things which used to take months earlier to develop and would take 2 to 3 man months to do can today be done in a matter of hours, right? So from that perspective, the amount of capital that you need to start today as a travel technology enabled player is much lesser than what it was as recently as 5 years ago, right? So I think it's a great time to be a travel startup. If you have a fantastic idea, you should go for it, right? The next one, which is there, is the role of technology in convincing corporates to explore alternate travel partners. I think that has been the biggest reason, I would say, for Yatra's success over the last 3, 4 years. And this trend changed quite significantly during COVID. So if you were to look at our own data, less than 30% of our transactions were on the self-book platform before COVID. Today, we are at almost 75% of our transactions. Remote working became a big push for digitization, right? And digitization in the corporate environment. And by corporate, I mean the general business industry in general, right? Organizations adopted HRMS systems, they adopted ERP systems, CRM systems, and travel related systems as well as part of that. So travel booking online along with an expense management today has become obviously a table stake, right? It's no longer just a differentiator. Today, I take the SBT to be table stakes, SBT plus with things like, Power BI integrated analytics, AI generated expense management solutions. Those become then the incremental things that you're adding over a self-booking tool. But the self-booking tool itself is today literally becoming like table stakes in the corporate travel world.
Thanks, Dhruv. We do have two more questions. One is addressed to you and one is addressed to everyone. And I do know we are overstepping on the time. But if you can quickly answer these questions, then we can quickly move forward. One is like, what major trends do you see redefining the future of travel and tourism in India and beyond? Anyone can answer that. And
Ajay, why don't you take that?
All right. What major trends do you see redefining the future of travel and tourism in India and beyond? I think sustainability and responsible tourism is a segment that will continue to grow. The effects of what we are doing to the world are quite evident. And I think more and more people are getting sensitized to the fact that tourism is a double-edged sword. It can bring economic benefits, but it also can devastate the environment that it feeds off. So that I think is going to be one trend going forward, which we all as industry stakeholders need to be aware of, and not only be aware of, but also help promote if we can, to the extent that we can. Apart from that, I think the use of technology and artificial intelligence is going to increase. I mean, everybody is doing their stuff on their phone, not even desktops and laptops anymore. So, as industry stakeholders, again, we need to prepare ourselves, be ready to answer the queries that will come to us from the generation that holds it all in the palm of their hand. And perhaps lastly would be the exploration of, I mean, there are, even today, excursions to the poles, but that's not for everybody because A, it's the cost factor, etc. But I think there will be a move away from the definition of what luxury is. Luxury travel will grow, but the definition of what constitutes luxury will perhaps change to being more personalized, more intimate, more special, more specific to what you want. I think this is some of the things that going forward we're going to look at.
thank you, Ajay. And the last question today for today is addressed to Ajeet. What's the future of mountaineering in India when everyone promoting Everest or another summit or 8,000ers?
I just want to say that, as you're aware, India has 73% of a culturally diverse Himalaya. We have them all. The mountains here, whether it's expeditions to Nunkun in Kashmir, Himalaya, to Kanchenjunga in the east. I mean, sadly, today, while we have a huge amount of potential, climbing in India is tough. There is no doubt about it. Whether it's the Nanda Devi Sanctuary or Kanchenjunga, the third highest mountain in the world, which is closed from the Indian side, from Sikkim. I think we have to slowly work with our government and ease restrictions, especially for foreign expeditions coming into India. We have to encourage Indians to move away from that trend of only climbing outside India, maybe the 8,000 meters. There's no doubt a lure of climbing the high mountains of the world, you know. But I still feel what we have in our country is phenomenal. Anywhere you go, I mean, from Himachal, Ladakh, Kashmir, looking at, as I said, the Nanda Devi Sanctuary, even to Gaurichen and peaks in Arunachal Pradesh, we've got some great mountains here. They say that our country has probably the largest collection of 7,000 meter plus mountains on the planet, right? And I think that is something we need to leverage. We have a team of people led by Captain Kumar, Brigadier Ashok Abe, who are working with us. And the idea is to make climbing expeditions in India a lot easier than what it is. But in terms of potential, I think we've got some of the best peaks on the planet in our country. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ajeet. On that note, a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speakers, Ajeet, Ajay, and Dhruv, for sharing your valuable insights, perspectives, and vision for the future of Indian tourism. Your thoughts have not only addressed the current challenges, but also lit a path forward with optimism, innovation, and resilience. To formally close today's session, I now invite Mr. Ronnie Gulati, Honorary Secretary, ATOAI, to propose a vote of thanks. Over to you, Ronnie.
Oh, thanks, Arsh. This becomes really complicated. Vote of thanks and all that, too flowery. But yeah, this was a terrific conversation and some points raised by Ajay and Dhruv. I think if anything, all of us can go back with is one that Dhruv said, that be ready to walk into the wall every time you get up. There are opportunities with every dip. There will be a climb. Let's climb and reach the summit. So there are immense opportunities on a long-term frame that Dhruv shared. That was, I think, an awesome point. So look at the bigger picture and don't get stuck in the smaller nuances. And what Ajay said was, I think, again, a terrific point. Forget about all this AI, bots, and technology. Just focus on spreading the joys and smiles. So those were the words he used. And that's what experience of tourism is all about. So we need to go ahead and spread joys and smiles amongst ourselves, and then spread it in the world. AIs and bots will follow us. Not to worry. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I think really well said and well spoken. I'm sure all of us will go back with a charge to not give up, but go ahead, upwards and onwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who attended. I think there was great time spent together. We should do it more often. And again, Ajay said, combination of competition and cooperation, right?
Ronnie, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. So Ajay used some word on cooperation and competition, right? I think let's go ahead and do that. Cooperation. Is that right? That's the word you used? Thank you very much. All the best, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.